Welcome to Capacity TV. My name is Nadine Hawkins and I am the editor of Capacity. We're here at Datacloud USA and I'm joined by Todd Zabelle, founder and CEO of Strategic Project Solutions and author. Thank you for joining us. We're at a real inflection point in this industry. We see the data center industry flooded with capEx. We've got technologies like AI that has a massive impact. And with that comes challenges, things like power constraints, sustainability, regulatory issues as well. How can people make sense of what's happening in the industry just now?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And what I've heard being here at the conference over the last day at least, right, is that it seems like it's getting a lot like the late 90s in the dot-com era. And I challenge that a little bit because I don't think that was as complex as what we're dealing now. But if history is a judge of where we're headed, what was interesting and something we should pay attention to is what happened in circa 2012 when Mitchell Energy was able to figure out how to integrate horizontal drilling with fracking, and we had this huge boom in onshore oil and gas exploration. Tremendous amounts of capEx was poured into the oil and gas sector, and 10 years on now, or 13 years on, we see far less players, lots of consolidation, and the main players are still there doing what they do. What's probably really interesting, and I don't know if anyone's paying attention to this is a very specific value chain. On one end, you have hyperscale companies and AI factories, as some are calling them, that really control what's happening, all right? On the other end, you have what we might call the technology providers, and those are people that are building the GPUs, the CPUs, the storage, the fiber. And then we have the facilities and asset providers, companies that are doing the generators, the chillers, the air handlers, the piping, and the fiber in that case, right? And in the middle of this whole thing, you have a bunch of service providers doing engineering and construction. And of course, the governments have a keen interest in what might happen in this. What I find really interesting, though, is the majority of the key players are large, publicly traded companies. Now we're talking that there is not enough energy. I know that was being debated earlier today. Is there enough energy? If there is or not? Is it a transmission problem? That's not totally clear, but something that can be somewhat figured out probably pretty soon. But really looking at that value chain, this is a handful of entities around the world that are doing their thing, mostly publicly traded with lots of capital trying to get involved some way or another. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. But I would encourage people to look at this from a value chain perspective.
What do you believe the core challenges are that need to be addressed?
Yeah, I think that there's really three elements that are going on here. And if we step back and look at it from that perspective, you have people creating new forms of software applications, right? AI being the big thing. And AI is interesting because AI, we're working to figure out how the AI can create the AI. So it's really not that complicated when you necessarily think about it. Then we move up the stack and we have people that are making things, GPUs, CPUs, and the rest. It gets a little bit more complicated. We've entered the physical world. Finally, we get into the building of facilities, and now we've entered a world that has all sorts of things that I believe many people in this sector aren't that familiar with. We have site conditions, we have regulatory requirements, we have safety issues, we have many things that construction brings, and typically what we want to do is we want to avoid construction at all costs. I believe that the construction element is the one that not everyone's fully figured out to the extent that perhaps they should. If you look at all those things individually, it's not really that complex, but the complexity comes in when someone down the value chain actually needs to create what I call a match, and that is there a community that would like a data center or allow a data center? Those are the whole NIMBY thing has gotten real. Is there power available? Is there fiber connection available? Can we get the necessary kit that we need to build these things, right? And another thing that I think is really important that is just beginning to be talked about, and that is the constraint on labor, right? How do we know there's a labor constraint? Well, we know there's a labor constraint because the AI guys are paying incredible sums of compensation to recruit people. But I don't know if that's really any different when you get all the way down to the guys that are actually welding pipes and pulling cables, right? There's just not the skilled and knowledgeable labor available. And so I think what happens is people believe that that's going to be someone else's problem. When you get to the top tier guys that are really this handful of companies, let's say it's AWS, Meta, ABC, Google, and Microsoft, and to a certain extent Oracle now, these guys understand and feel that. I'm not certain everyone else is fully feeling that yet, but I think that's what we're probably going to hear more of next year.
And at the event, we've been talking a lot about the opportunities, but also the challenges. What do you believe companies need to do for success in this era?
Yeah, this is an interesting topic as well. My personal opinion, and this is just my opinion, and who am I? There's too much focus on the transactions, and the transactions are great because that's how individuals probably create value for themselves. But really what we need to move here is from a transactional perspective to what I call a production perspective. And when we begin to look at production, it's a nasty world in there. That's where we make and build things. It has a level of complexity that we're not used to. But I think that we want to avoid that. So I think if we look at companies that have spent a long time, whether they're in oil and gas, chemicals, hospitals, or wherever they may operate, most of them have figured out that their destiny when they are capEx intensive or capital intensive is they have to have a heavy hand and understand how to manage the production of projects and not just make the mistake of saying, if I give it to someone else, it'll be all right. Some contractor is going to come along and do a great job and I don't have to worry about it. I believe you're going to start to see that the projects are going to get more and more stressed as the capEx continues to grow. I know many of them are stressed now. There's things that are going on that people don't really want to pay attention to. And I think there's some interesting statistics that we've learned from large projects through the years. I think it was McKinsey that said 98% of all projects over $1 billion suffer a cost and schedule overrun. So the writing's on the wall. We know, regardless of what we're going to go build here, at this magnitude, cost and schedule overruns and claims are the norm. And so you listen to people talking, well, we need to get more power. Do we need generation or transmission? That's construction. That requires welders, pipe fitters, and electricians. We're going to go build data centers. We're going to pull fiber. We're going to do all these things. That's all construction. And I think what's, the part of that people don't fully recognize is the construction industry is the second largest industry in the world, and it's completely dysfunctional. Whether you're remodeling a bathroom in your house or they're building a new power plant, most of this stuff, highways, motorways, whatever you want to call them, all of this has an incredible amount of dysfunction and cost and schedule overrun. And as some people say, the industry is broken.
Yeah.
This whole thing is betting on the construction industry coming through for them. And I've been in the industry for 35 years, and I can just tell you, I'd be taking a heavy hand on what's going on if it was me.
And deviating from the subject a little bit, you're a published author. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Well, that's exactly it, and that's part of my passion in all this is I wrote a book with Forbes books called Built to Fail, Why Construction Projects Take So Long and Cost So Much, and how to fix it. And it gets in and talks about exactly what needs to be done. I'd encourage people to get a copy of the book, read the book. It's written with a lot of stories. And it talks about why things that are being done and with the best intentions have unintended consequences and what could be done to solve those problems. And I think if you take the ideas, and I didn't originate all the ideas, but I've been on an incredible journey and have learned a tremendous amount and have brought that out for people to take a look at, I think that could go a long way to solving this challenge that's on the horizon. There's some stormy seas on the horizon that are coming at us.
And where can we find the book?
We could get it at either Amazon in digital format or hard copy, and same with Barnes & Noble.
It sounds like a very interesting book. Thank you for joining us, Todd.
Thank you, Nadine.
And thank you for watching Capacity TV.